Did you know our hearts connect deeply wherever you and I are in the world? Hi, I'm Andrea Petrut. Here at Healing Through Oneness podcast, together we find what makes us unique and what keeps us united. We learn of past wounds and ways to heal. We release old stories and create new, empowering realities that serve us now. Join me and my guests to recognize the truth within, discover why you are precious, connect with what sets you apart, and allow the world to welcome you and resonate with your heart. We are one. Hello, dear friend. Today is a new episode, episode 16 for Healing Through One podcast. And this is a day where I have two guests. Now with me is Marian. Welcome, Marian.
Hi, thank you, Andrea, for having me.
Well, we're waiting for Michael Challenger. He's going to join us very soon, as far as I know, and we're going to introduce him too. Marian, how do we pronounce your family name?
Balogun.
Balogun.
Yeah, you got it right.
Please, please forgive me. You are Nigerian, and I, from the experience of speaking to Nigerian immigrants here in Canada, I see that it's not the pronunciation I was thinking. I have to pay much more attention in the tone and accent and other things.
Yeah, so it's actually Balogun. Yeah, but I try to pronounce it a little bit more so that other people are able to pronounce it well.
Thank you for sharing that. So, Marian, you and Michael kindly accepted the invitation to be here with me and my friend listening and viewing because you are both part of an event coming next week in Toronto, event organized in collaboration with Immigrant Women in Business, which the three of us are involved in different ways and with our own experience and expertise. Michael is um, is a man and that has brought, I would say, spice into the immigrant women in business community. And Marian, before Michael manages to connect with us, can you please share about yourself? What do you want us to know about you? You have your own unique experience, and you're like me, an immigrant, but you have a different story than mine.
Okay, so my name is Marian Balogun. I'm from Nigeria. I came into Canada almost 3 years ago. Came in during the pandemic. Unfortunately, when I came into the country, like 2, 3 months after, we had to lock down for the pandemic. So I wasn't really able to explore Canada the way I had planned to. But then 2 years after, we are now out and about and we're able to continue living our lives. In the space of the 2 years of the lockdown of the pandemic, I went through an experience that was very life changing. And I just thought I learned a lot from it, and I thought to share with people, just to help them live their life better. I've always believed that when you know something, it helps you to make better decisions in your life.
There is something you did. You wrote a book, and
Mm-hmm.
as I was reading, I really, I think I want to thank you for writing it, and I want to acknowledge the fact that Michael is trying again.
Is that his
Can you hear
phone?
me now?
Yay! Finally.
Miracle happened! Oh my gosh! Okay,
Oh,
Miriam. So
okay, I'm here. Oh my, I'm so sorry, guys. I apologize.
No worries. It's technology.
It's technology, and it's actually my first time using StreamYard, so I think that's why I was. Anyway, Please go ahead. Please go
We're
ahead.
all learning. Well, now because you're here and
Yes.
as long as we can hear you, Michael, first of all, welcome. Thank
Thank,
you for
thank
accepting the
you.
invitation.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
And please tell us about yourself because I always want to, instead of reading the bio, I really want to hear from you what resonates with you to share with us today.
Is it okay? I mean, I know Marian was in the middle of her discussion, so I can.
We were just about to talk about her book and
Okay.
then about the event. So I think it's the right time for you to jump in.
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that I'm just a multidisciplinary artist that has been in the industry for a very long time. And I myself, I started off with performing in different parts of the world, being able to be mentored by many incredible people. And as time went on in my career, I decided that I wanted to start my own businesses and really start to use my own perspective and my experiences to help really increase the lives of other people. So there's two things that I really focus on in my life. I've always been really obviously passionate about media, which is one area that I still focus on, and then also in health and wellness. The pairing of both of them has been very, very instrumental in my life. And one of the things that I really love is to help people transform in their journeys, whether that's individually or businesses. So I wrote a book myself. It's called Don't Let Fear Paralyze You. Became a best-selling author of the book, and I started touring in different parts of North America to, yes, thank you so much, of the book, to talk to different people about what it looks like when we're operating at a very low vibration and not being able to actually do the things that we really want to do. And I've actually created a program that's a pairing of it to really give people a step-by-step journey on how to really overcome some of the limiting beliefs they may have. So it's interesting with some of the things that I do as a coach. I'm also a certified life coach, and I take care of different, certifications when it comes to happiness, when it comes to reprogramming the mind. I coach people a few days a week, and I do business and I do coaching. So my life is very full with different types of experiences, and I try to keep it interesting.
Thank you, Michael. That's why Marian was waiting for you to to start. Um, Michael, you are the one who helped us find the title for this episode, and we would like both Marian and I would like to hear your perspective because she has hers, and each of us have had different experience in life where we really had to look at how, like Marian says, how can I grow from with and through this experience, and you have your own take because of your life story, because of who you are as an expert, and because of the people you meet and all of that. What can we be inspired by? What can we learn? What is the best thing you've learned about going through challenges created by situations where we relate with people who are negative, people who have other intentions than caring for one another, than contributing, collaborating?
So I think that the title again, I thought it was a perfect, taking charge of the trajectory of your life is really important because I think that specifically in this time, people are really trying to figure things out post COVID. During COVID, it was obviously very difficult. It gave people the opportunity to settle and to really focus and marinate on what was going on and figure out some of the decisions that they needed to make, whether it was platonic, whether it was work related. Just it gave us time to reflect. But it doesn't mean that after COVID, like, we have all the answers. We're still going through it because now we go right back into the patterns and we go back into our lives and we forget about the things that most matter to us. And so taking control of your life is so important right now for people because there's a lot of changes happening in the world. There's a lot of I'm not going to get too political, but it's incredible what women are dealing with in Iran. There's what people like what, things that are happening in different parts of North America about um, really I'm talking to women here about in the States with abortion. There's all these different things about taking control of your life and actually honoring your own body and self. And so again, we have to go really deep with that and ask the questions to people like, what do you actually really want, and being able to create the right map of success to help people lead them and guide them in the right way. And that can be whether that's an individual or that's corporate, because at the end of the day, the mandate within a business, employees in a business, people individually, everybody wants different things. And if the lines of communication are clear with yourself or within a business, it can get very, very tricky and unclear. So my job in many ways, whether it's a coach or whether I'm dealing with an actual client, when I'm dealing with the agency, right? I own a company called Optimal Living Summit, and the actual agency itself deals with a lot of corporate businesses. And so my job is to figure out the mandate of what they need, because again, if the lines of communications from upper management down to the actual employee, the staff, if it's not clear, it can actually ruin, the business can lose thousands and thousands of dollars. So what's my job is to go in there to understand it so that we can create exactly what the company needs so that they can continue to excel in the right direction. So taking control is about being specific. It's about taking responsibility. It's about getting clear, right? And I think that in many ways we can get, life is obviously very challenging for most of us in many ways, depending on what we have to do. And but it also takes the responsibility to sit down and look at what can I do to change right now, and that starts with self.
Yeah, and I know that as a mentor and coach, it, we change roles depending on who we are dealing with. Sometimes we're mentors, sometimes we're coaches. You, with that experience, you know why coaching and mentoring is important. And I also know, and Marian can share from her experience what is important to her. Why do we need mentoring or coaching? Can't we do it alone?
Well, here's a beauty. I have something here that I wrote down for specifically. So this is according to actually the Harvard Medical School. Okay, so it says the benefits of coaching, mentorship. 80% of people who receive coaching report increased confidence, and over 70% benefit from improved work performance, relationships, and more effective communication skills. So this is according to the Harvard Medical School. And so the benefits of that, when we look at it from a statistics standpoint, we really get to see the benefits of when people actually have accountability, when they have somebody who knows how to guide them, not control them, not tell them what to do, but guide them in the right direction in order for them to be successful with their specific goals and needs. So again, when you have that type of relationship that's built, when I'm working with a client, I always stipulate and make sure that this is about you. It's a we experience, but this is actually about you. And you're the one that's leading me to make sure that I can keep you on track with what you want to do. That comes down to strategy, that comes down to planning, that comes down to, depending on if you're an entrepreneur, that's branding, that's marketing. I mean, there's so many different things that I know based off of what I've had to do for my own business and from, and how the world has changed. These things are very specific. And so everybody's going to have different wants, and it requires a specific need to make sure that people are actually getting what they want. And that's the part of my job that I love the most, is being able to celebrate their wins.
This is so important, by the way. Having somebody to go through an experience successfully, having that triumph that we are talking about here, and also celebrating what worked well, because many times we don't see what we did well. We're dismissing the simple things. And both of you wrote uh, a book, like you, Marian, you, Michael, you said don't let fear paralyze you, and which is one take on things. And then Marian, you wrote the different faces of narcissism, how to recognize, neutralize, and protect yourself from toxic people disguised as friends, and you wrote it from the empath's perspective. I think all three of us here are empaths. I know, Michael, you also are a very sensitive um, side of you, I would say, if I may say this. And um, Michael, you here in the book, I love that we're not, maybe it's not a time to really go deep into it. Maybe we'll have a conversation separate, because your book is really special and has its own way of being structured and organized. And you have insights, you have your experience here, and then you have exercises. And one thing that I told you, and I remember I mentioned this to you one day, is that I see what I haven't seen in other books, which is you have a symbol which shows people to breathe, to take a breath, to pause. And I think this is so important if we're thinking of before getting to a coach or mentor. We have these tools, we have books through which the authors, and you too in this case, are giving us something that we can go through, that we can use as tools before we even invest in ourselves with a mentor or coach. Marian, your book is the experience of an individual who had to go through something and you didn't have a mentor. You found your support, as you write in your dedication. Your boss, your later became a supporter, but before you met your boss, your experience was just learning what to do and how to take yourself out of that. What does this triumph mean to you? How did that came into your life? What did you do?
Okay, so when you go through trauma, there are different ways that you can process it. You definitely have to process it in some healthy ways. When I was going through what I was going through, and I had started therapy, which really helped. I was advised to, look for a healthy way to process it, because you actually have to process it, which is why I really love what Michael does. He does, he helps you, like he said, you're the one that has to be present. You're the one that's guiding, you're not controlling, because the main definition of emotional abuse is an attempt to control. So that person wants to control your thought, wants to control everything about you. So that's why, what Michael does in the mix, it's amazing. And I'm so grateful that he's on this team, to help us educate people on how to move forward. And so basically what our topic says, how do you take back the trajectory of your life, like in my own case, after an emotional abuse. Like I said, when I went into therapy, one of the things that was said to me was look for healthy ways to process what has happened to you. I chose writing. For some people, is sharing their story in support groups, uh, talking to a therapist. For some others, is creating art. Right? You have to process it. So you it's show it's I don't know how to explain it. I think Michael knows how to explain it better. You have to let it out, right? Because it's stuck all there and it's messing you up, so you have to let it out
Yeah,
some way.
yeah. So just to support Marian in that, the fact is that again with the line of thinking, and depending on the community that you come from, right? Sometimes we're taught to suppress. Sometimes we're taught to
Hmm.
actually not let out or express what it is that we're feeling. And so when you get again the opportunity to have somebody in your corner to hear it out, right? Releasing the stress from the body, releasing the tension from the body, all of those
Hmm.
things make a difference on how people progress in their life.
Yep.
This is a huge, 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 again, a component of when you're talking about, you know, um, being, and again, with her book with narcissism being the thing is that when the narcissist actually finds your weaker spots or knows where you're weakest, that's when they jump in and take
Yeah.
control. And so anyway, I'll let Marie. So yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, some people express it through art, whatever their art or craft is. Some people go into meditation and prayer. I know if you've read the part of my book to that extent, you see that that really helped me. Meditation, yoga, prayers. And then some people walk through it through physical workout, exercise. I'm not very big of a gym person, but going for walks, going to the gym, it you know, helps you release that tension, and so that you can focus on other important things in your life.
Yeah, there's something about bringing the nervous system back to a place that where it's very neutral, right? And so there's so many benefits of why working out and being the physical activity, physical wellness. That's the biggest thing again when it comes down to coaching or my business. The areas of wellness for mental health in any of these is the key thing. And if we don't know how to pinpoint the areas where you're weakest, you can feel like you're in a rat race trying to figure out why do I always feel depressed.
I really love how both of you, I would say, integrated different aspects because dealing with emotional abuse has different levels. And I think narcissism is one of the highest. I'm not sure it is the highest, but is one of the highest and the most challenging, the most um, draining experience we can have. And We have issues in recognizing, first of all, any kind of emotional abuse. We are not taught in schools, we're not taught in our families. We're actually, even in some of our families, unfortunately, it is considered as normal and is part of the education and encouraged, and we can't make the difference. And I love that you two joined forces for next Friday to really talk in depth about how do we recognize what it is, and what do we do about it when we see it. Because definitely, from both you Michael and you Marian said, um, we we have to acknowledge what is, we have to learn how to deal with it, and we have to know there is support. Like you Michael, you're there. Marian, you're sharing from your experience so others know what to do. Definitely there are more conversations needed, and it's not an easy thing to talk about. We don't want to see the truth. It's hard to accept that we put ourselves in a situation, or that we are living in a situation that we have to get out from, and we don't always know how. What do you guys think about that, and how do you see this event really starting something to help people take whatever is useful now and start making changes in their life?
Okay, I'll just go first, and I think Michael will add to it. So basically, emotional abuse has a devastating impact on people, obviously, especially women. And what happens is that we end up losing ourselves. And the reason for this is because, it's a physical and emotional betrayal. The abuse was a betrayal to us. What the abuser basically does is that the abuser conditions victims to basically ignore their needs. And at the end of the day, what happens is you find out that you end up putting all your needs at the back burner, of they are the ones that become important. And then you you're scrambling to breathe, and you mentioned the symbol in Michael's book, and I just want to say a personal experience. So when everything was happening to me, I remember one day I was in a car with a friend. The friend was driving the car, and suddenly I was so overwhelmed. I'm an empathic person. I tend to take in everything, and I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't breathe. We were on the highway. He had to get off the highway, stop the car, and, and basically, luckily for me, this person was a therapist, so he knew all the right things to do and calmed me down. So like that symbol. I remember I'm also going through your book, and I saw the symbol, and I remember thinking how so important it is. Because especially with us women, it takes a toll on us. We lose. We really, it has so much of an impact on us, on our health. Now, what do? We need to seek safe support. I say all the time when I'm talking about my experience, I'm not a therapist. So, but I would always say seek safe support. It can be a coach, it can be kind of like what Michael does, or it can be a therapist where when you go there, and when you have this kind of betrayal, what happens is it's not easy for you to open up to somebody else. My experience, this person was in a position where I could openly tell the person my traumas. I was coming with trauma, right? And then every like I don't know, there was Michael or you, Andrea, that said it, everything was used against me. So it's very hard for you to now want to go back and open up to somebody else. But then when you seek safe support, what happens is with licensed therapists, anything you say to them can't be shared. It can't be shared with anybody. So they're just helping you walk through your trauma and helping you to get to a better place. And then you also mentioned, how do we recognize? The honest truth is, how did I get to the extent that I got to? Was because I didn't recognize all the red flags at the beginning, which is what my campaign is all about. My campaign is all about, if you can recognize it, then you can remove yourself from that situation. before it gets too far. So I'm just going to mention some signs of emotional abuse that I know, that people can look out for, and maybe recognizing it can save them, and then Michael can take it from there. Name calling. Now, you mentioned at the beginning of this session that um some are cultural. I come from that kind of culture where it's okay to belittle someone, it's okay to assassinate the person's character. And I remember when I was on holiday in Nigeria and I was on one of the radio stations speaking, and I was telling the person, I said, our aunties are narcissists, because that's all they did. They would come and bully us. They would, name call us, character assassinate us. When it's done, it's like constructive criticism. If it's constructive, but when it starts tilting towards the negative aspect, it's no longer. It now becomes abuse. So name calling, character assassination, yelling. I mean, with parents with kids, sometimes you yell, but when yelling now becomes uh excessive, it stops being you trying to get across to your child. It becomes abuse. So yelling, patronizing, belittling your accomplishment. Oh, I can do better than that. When somebody accomplishes something, you either don't say anything, or you just recognize the person's accomplishment. You don't belittle it. So when people start belittling your, no matter what it could be, you stop to drinking for you're sober for 2 days, you should be proud of yourself, and nobody should belittle the fact that, oh, it's just 2 days, I've been sober for 2 years. No. Once you're being belittled, that's another sign of, it's a sign that this person, can potentially abuse you. You need to stay clear of that person. Public embarrassment. Public, as funny as that sounds, public embarrassment too is an emotional abuse. And pushing your buttons, there's so many examples of that. Person's always pushing your buttons, because why would you want to put someone down? You should always want to encourage the person, instead of wanting to put the person down. Michael, I don't know if you want to add to some of that.
Absolutely. I think that in many ways, when you look at when you're being or feeling abused in situations, it's not always obvious for people to know how to seek professional help. And again, depending on where they are in their life, if they have the money to actually get the help that they need. My biggest suggestion in all of this is to really look at friendship. When you have a close enough friend, we all, some of us have, a large amount of friends, some of us only have a few. But the quality of your relationship, to make sure that you have somebody that can be strong enough to help you get out of a situation, or that you can depend on, this is the key to starting your journey of getting out of something that's abusive, or specifically that we're talking about today, is
Mm-hmm.
narcissist behavior. And that type of relationship, because I know it for a fact from myself, of experiencing it, and people that I've coached in it, and friends that have gone through narcissism. The fact is that that commitment or that friendship made a heck of a difference in their life. As a coach, it's obviously, again, it comes out a lot, and sometimes people don't even know that they're part of it. They don't understand the signs of it. So again, Marian being the expert in that, and with her book and talking about those red flags, that part of it, really, of her outlining it and making sure that people can really be clear about what it is that they have to look out for, so that they don't start something without really actually knowing that they're a narcissist. It's really amazing when you understand what narcissism is, because you can avoid it. But when you don't know, all of a sudden you're like, my auntie's a narc. Oh, but this auntie's well, this auntie's a narcissist too. Right? And you don't even know that your family has been built. It's been built in the structure of within the community to be a narcissist. Society teaches us to be a narcissist with our selfies. It's healthy to have some of it, but again, how are people using their own their self in situations? Are they controlling you? Is it a healthy part of narcissism, that self-love, self-care? Right? Self-love, self-care is important. That's what I encourage people to do. Like, take time for yourself, make sure it's about you. So there's moments where we really have to look at it. So it's a very interesting conversation, and I look forward to extending it. I know that we will be with each other next week. And I look forward to, for the people who can actually attend this, it's going to be very instrumental and beneficial. So you should be there.
Okay.
So if you're in, thank you, Michael. This was really good. Thank you, Marian and Michael. If you're in Toronto, in GTA, please join us next Friday, 6 p.m. EST. You're going to see both Michael and Marian and many other extraordinary people who are bringing together their expertise, their experience to support and to help us in dealing with such situations. Before we leave, Michael and Marian, do you have one thought, one message for our listener?
I just think that in many ways, if I'm talking about, I know today again, taking responsibility for your life, really take the time and ask yourself what do you really want? I think that if you can really, have a personal moment for yourself and to just figure out and try to clear it up, it's the hardest question to answer for most people. And when we actually start to work with it, things tend to come up and you go going back into bad habits. Ask yourself, what do you really want? And start working from there and see what happens.
So I would say, in like, I'm talking more about emotional abuse. I would say that if you fell into that kind of situation, if you are, trying to get back to your normal self from it, I want you to know that you have to forgive yourself. It wasn't your fault. It was just someone taking advantage of your vulnerability. It wasn't you. And in as much as it's not that easy to recover, but you need to make whatever effort you can to recover and learn all you need to learn from it and move forward, and try as much, because what I have seen is, growing up from where I'm from, what I've seen is we tend to take a lot of our trauma, and then we extend it onto the next generation. We're trying to avoid transferring generational trauma. That's all.
Thank you both for these great messages. You have these tools now, one book from Michael, the other book from Marian. Join us with the event next week. You'll have all the links available to buy the books and see more of Marian and Michael. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And please leave a review and tell us how and what's touched you. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
guys.
Thank you. If what you heard touched you or helped you, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite place for tuning in. Pay it forward by sharing it with others. I'll be here for you with the next episode. I'm Andrea Petruth, your Healing Through Oneness show host. Remember, we are connected. We are one.